at the Mo sect, which is a small settlement on top of a mountain. Somewhere in the sky, we see two people flying on a magic carpet. The older of the two girls tells the other, named Zio Q, that they'll soon arrive at the border of the Mo sect, and also warns her not to get lost. Soon enough, they land in front of a temple with an insanely tall flight of stairs. As such, the older girl, Lu Dongli, carries Zio Q on her back so they can get to the top. And while she's climbing up, she tells the little girl to familiarize herself with the mountain's surroundings while she's here. She also promises to tell Zio Q about the sect rules and other things she should take note of, and the little girl assures her master that she'll listen carefully. The master suddenly starts talking about the rules, but it all comes out as gibberish, and the little girl has no idea what she just said. The confused girl is still trying to figure out what just happened, when her master states that she's done with the rules, and claims that it's time for the important points. As they float up the stairs, the master informs her that they are the Mo sect, and are a total of 10 members. She reveals that she has 6 disciples, while another one of them is the sect leader's disciple. Zio listens very carefully as the master informs her that the sect leader is her brother, who is 6 years older than her. Because of this, she tells the little girl that she must treat him with respect, even more than she would respect her own master. However, she also informs Zio that she's not allowed to be alone with the sect leader or even learn from him. Hearing this, the curious little girl wonders if the sect leader eats kids, but her master assures her that he doesn't. But that's before she reveals that the true reason is even scarier, which is the fact that her brother is ailed by a rather troublesome illness. Just then, we see a flashback of the sect leader informing his sister that their world is just a game that they're stuck in. Because of this, she feels that her brother has some sort of mental illness, since she can't bring herself to believe that she's living inside a game. After their parents passed away, the boy could no longer remember his real age, and always kept talking about some main character's template, which his sister couldn't understand. Back in the present, the master admits that her older brother has a few loose screws in his head, leaving her no choice but to get stronger so the sect can rely on her instead. Just then, the master and student spot the delusional sect leader, Liu Kao, standing on the edge of a cliff, and talking about how this world would live in darkness if it wasn't for him. Zio Q is instantly mesmerized by his charm when she sees his face, but her master tells her not to listen to his gibberish. The sect leader brags about how lucky Zio is to join his sect, but his sister thinks otherwise. She claims that the little girl is so talented that she would easily get accepted into better sects, so she feels that she's actually the lucky one to have such a student. The master fears that Zio would get influenced by her brother's delusional teachings, so she tries to get the already infatuated girl away from him by suggesting that she needs to rest. Zio tries to talk to him, but her master tells her not to look back, and as they leave the scene, the sect master begins to wonder where his sister found such a talented girl. He's impressed with her high stats, and starts to recall how there haven't been any cheat codes since he arrived in the game 21 years ago. It turns out that he's not so crazy after all, because we learn that he's currently inside the biggest virtual world in the 22nd century. It's called the Tangshuan world, and it's so expansive that people have started calling it a parallel dimension. According to the sect master's calculations, the game should undergo its beta testing soon. And as if right on cue, a notification appears, confirming his prediction. As a result of this, he obtains the right to access his character stats panel. Liu Kao sees that his character is at level 10, with max health points, and a spiritual level that's almost at the peak. His core bone, swordsmanship, and charm are also very high, and can be increased even further, but his luck is stuck at 3.14, and it makes him pretty upset. Overall, the system calls him a very handsome but useless character. My guy takes what he can get and acknowledges the flattery, because he feels that while weakness is temporary, good looks last forever. Another announcement pops up, revealing that the beta testing stage would officially start in 30 Earth days. Liu Kao gets excited to see this, because he realizes that it's equivalent to 300 days in Changshuan. The excitement of new players arriving in the game dies down when the sect leader remembers how he no longer has any attachment to his former world. In a flashback scene, we see Liu Kao's life back on Earth, and how he was a rich, handsome, and thoroughly spoiled kid who got literally anything he wanted. In his previous life, he enjoyed toying with people in real life and games. And even though he was just an average player, his wealth was always his special power. He had it easy while playing games, because he could simply spend millions to make himself invincible to monsters, and he expected others to be able to do the same. Liu Kao was a pretty lonely kid in the real world, especially since his wealthy parents no longer came home after they started processing their divorce. He was literally an orphan whose parents were still alive, and they neglected him so much that the only form of communication he had was the numerous transactions he carried out. As you can imagine, it didn't take long before he eventually lost interest in everything, because although he could have everything he wanted, he also lost everything he had. Having nothing else to do, he one day logged back into the game, and when he opened his eyes, he realized that he had been reborn into a family of nobles. When his new parents saw him, they were overjoyed and decided to name him Liu Kao, which means early morning song. The young sect leader never imagined that he would be born again, let alone acquire what he had always desired in his past life. He realized that among the hundreds of thousands of things in the world, love and affection would never disappoint. His memories are interrupted by a message from the system, informing him that the mission function has been unlocked, and also asking him if he would like to accept. He accepts the mission, revealing that he's been idle for the past 21 years in the game, and now that he's gathered a lot of experience, he can't deny the opportunity to level up with missions. The handsome player pushes the button to accept, and after the system scans the sect, it identifies him as the leader, before informing him that his mission is to strengthen and expand his sect. When Lukeo sees this, he suddenly remembers that it was his father's long and cherished dream to achieve this, so he's more than willing to complete the mission. Our hero pushes a button for more details on the mission, so the system begins grading the entire place. Unfortunately, while Lukeo is eagerly waiting to begin, a certain message leaves him horrified, which reveals that his sect is unqualified. Even though he knows the Mo sect is quite mid, he never imagined that it would be unqualified to even start his first mission. According to what he knows, the lowest sects in the Tiangshuan world are the 9th rank, while the Sword sect among the top 4 biggest organizations is considered the 1st rank. Our hero also recalls something about a special rank which no longer exists, and all of this makes him much more upset that his sect is practically the worst in the virtual world. He wonders what could make it unqualified, and thinks that there might be a bug in the system. He does some digging, and realizes that while the sect is qualified by having up to 10 members, his beginner rank level as the sect leader is the drawback. Because, for complete qualification of the mission, the leader is required to be at least 1st rank or higher. At this point, Lukeo sighs in disappointment, and realizes that he's the problem, concluding that he must go down the mountains the following day to get his breakthrough. However, he suddenly remembers that if his Mo sect is unqualified, then it should have been kicked out of the 300 sects that rule this world. But that isn't the case, because there's a certain lady in this place who also belongs to the 1st ranked Sword sect, and it pleases him to know that her connections are proving very useful. The young leader walks into a graveyard and knocks on a headstone, announcing that the offerings have arrived. It turns out that apart from his official members, there's someone else who keeps themselves hidden. Centuries ago, this person was brought back by the 31st leader of the sect, after seeing their extraordinary powers in person. Because of how strong they were compared to the rest of their peers in this place, the Master Cultivator chose to live in seclusion at the cemetery. As the Master's energy starts to thicken across the cemetery, Lukeo starts to see the pros and cons of this partnership. The good part is that he won't need to make a grave for this master when they die, but on the other hand, he won't ever be able to confirm if they're actually dead or alive. After all, he has only ever communicated through their energy and never met the master in person. Either way, the scene changes, and the next thing we see is the sect leader having a high authority meeting with his sister, referring to her as Elder Lu. Seated at the table, he informs her that he would like to settle the matter of going on the dangerous journey down the mountain, but she just feels that Lukeo's acting addiction is surfacing again. He takes offense, and reminds her that insulting the sect leader could earn her the punishment of him pinching her cheeks. At this point, it's easy to see why no one really takes him seriously, and when she leans backward to get away from him, he gets even more offended. The sister ignores his tantrums, and speaks with maturity, asking him why he wants to go down the mountain. Our boy slams the table and responds radically, claiming that he needs to achieve a breakthrough. But in order to do this, he needs a certain herb called the marrow-cleansing spirit grass, which he would have to dig out himself. Hearing this, Lu expresses her excitement that her brother finally wants to achieve another breakthrough, after many years of acquiring only the beginner's rank. After warning her not to mock him, he reveals that apart from achieving a breakthrough, he would also like to spread the Mo sect throughout this world, so he can bring honor to their ancestors. Seeing this exaggerated display, the girl concludes that his hero complex is back, and his tendency to show off has become even higher. The following morning, the sect leader, his only disciple Hai Ting, along with his sister and Xiao Q, prepare to set out for the journey. Lukeo asks his sister why they have to wear such ordinary clothes, and complains that the outfit won't show that he's a sage with an outstanding nature. But his sister tells him to keep quiet, reminding him that normal clothes are better to avoid attracting unwanted attention. While he's feeling that his little sister is too mature, 2 spies watch them from a nearby tree. And after confirming that the sect leader is still a loudmouth as ever, they plot their next move. The scene shifts, and we see the crew on their flying leaf carpet. As they soar through the air, the little disciple points out how the forest beneath them is actually red, and her master informs her that it's the Forest of Flames, the place where they'll search for the marrow-cleansing grass. Xiao then asks her master why the sect master has been staring into space since the journey started, so she informs the little girl that her brother is actually cultivating. This art of sitting still and meditating is needed by every cultivator, and Lu informs her disciple that she would need to learn a lot about it in the future. Hearing this, the little girl gets excited because she finds the handsome sect leader amazing, and would also like to meditate in the future as well. In reality, Lukeo is actually just choosing a mission from the system. And while he's doing this, he sees that the leveling up missions are of 4 colors, which are yellow, blue, purple, and orange. As expected, it's the same with his previous life, so he wonders which of the missions he should pick this time. The sect master is aware that most players pick yellow because it's simple and quick. Blue, on the other hand, is what the experts choose, while purple is only chosen by professional players. As for the orange mission, only 1 in a million would choose it, because only those with enormous amounts of money had the guts to choose the hardest difficulty. After considering all the factors, the sect leader makes his choice and picks the most difficult mission by selecting orange. After successfully acquiring the mission, a wave of satisfaction washes over him. But while he's busy feeling fulfilled, we see that another magic carpet hidden in invisibility is secretly following them from behind. As the spies quietly follow the Mo sect leader and his members, one of them, named Master Ning, admits that the winds are a little too loud. Her disciple asks her if following the Mo sect so closely won't blow their cover, and in response, Ning confidently assures him that they won't be able to see her, even if she stands in front of them naked. The disciple gets the point, but comments that such an exaggerated description wasn't needed. His master asks him in return whether he tagged along to see Liu Keo advance to the next level out of admiration, or simply because of jealousy. Hearing this, the boy stares at the back of our hero and realizes that if he were to be perfectly honest, he's only following him out of hatred. Master Ning teases him after his response, reminding him that he's the best sword master in the young generation, and pointing out that earning his hatred is not an easy feat. Meanwhile, the Mo sect members arrive in the Flame Forest, and Lu Dongli reminds everyone that they're leaving immediately after they find the marrow-cleansing grass, because there are monsters around. Liu Keo suddenly asks his sister if she's hiding her cultivation, pointing out how stably she landed for someone on her level. In response, she laughs with guilt laced all over her face and denies the allegation. But the sect leader can clearly see that she's lying. He quickly shakes off the thought, however, and instructs the group to begin the search for the marrow-cleansing grass. Just then, a message appears, informing them that they have a sub-mission to defeat a wild monster of level 10, which is basically a boss-level fight. Seeing this, the sect leader realizes that the mission isn't as easy as they thought, and he even starts to wonder if a monster at that level even exists. He also knows that strong bosses are easy to find, while it's the weak ones that are rare. And while he's pondering on this, his sister interrupts him, revealing that she's already found 3 marrow-cleansing grass herbs lying in plain sight. The little disciple gets a sense of how good the grass smells, and even feels like eating them. But before they can get close to their objective, a monster appears behind the tree where the grass is. Dong Li informs the others and warns them to stand back, and that's about the same time when the mission target is locked on. The sect leader confidently steps forward, telling his members that no one shall move, and assuring them that he'll eat the marrow-cleansing grass because not even Jesus can stop him from doing so. As you can imagine, when his sister sees him doing this, she realizes that they might have a problem, because she knows that her brother is definitely acting up again. All of a sudden, Liu Keo starts walking towards the monster, feeling that his low luck was just a ruse. Because he now feels that he must be very lucky to have found 3 of the marrow-cleansing grass at once, as well as finding the exact monster required for the mission in the same place. His decision causes his sister to freak out, because she fears that her clueless brother is being a little too brave. Xiao Q, on the other hand, seems to find the sect leader's decision very cool. Not sure what would happen, Dong Li ultimately decides that if the monster turns out to be weak, she'd leave it for her brother to defeat. But if it's actually strong, then she'll have to kill it herself, which means that she's going to stay on her guard. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the forest, the spies are secretly watching everything. The swordsman informs his master that he sensed that the monster is at rank 9, and has also achieved a beginner's rank as well. Hearing this, Ning asks him what he thinks the Mo sect leader would do. The boy responds that although they're on the same level, monsters have stronger bodies compared to humans, so Liu Keo would probably have to lure it aside to defeat it in a single move. Master Ning agrees with him, but as they look at the guy lurking about the tree and carelessly picking the grass, she's forced to comment that he probably doesn't have a single plan in mind. While my dude was busy picking up herbs from the tree, the giant black patterned snake suddenly charged at him from behind. However, it turns out to be a simple luring strategy, because our hero wanted to appear as a weak prey to the monster. While his members are yelling for him to look out, he looks at the creature with confidence, wondering if it belongs to a high-ranking bloodline of monsters. But regardless of its origin, Liu Keo pulls out his sword, and promises to beat the snake's head till it's crooked for life. As the spy watches this, he snaps his neck to the side out of reflex. And when Master Ning asks him what's wrong, he pretends that it's nothing. In reality, he's wondering why he still reacted on reflex, even though it's been so many years since his encounter with our hero. He recalls a memory of the past, when he was being lectured by our hero for going rampant in their sect, claiming himself as some sort of sword master. Confronted by our hero, he tried to act as if he was being disrespected by his presence, but Liu Keo beat some sense into him by slapping him hard on the cheek. Skilled or not, our boy couldn't tolerate not being called a senior disciple by his junior. That one slap completely woke up the spy's young and arrogant self, but it wasn't what made him submit to Liu Keo. Instead, it was his insane cultivating speed and his observation skills. And truly, we see that the Mo sect leader managed to take down the monster by hitting its vital point in a single move. Afterward, Liu Keo absorbs the snake and turns it into experience points, making Xiao Q even more fascinated by his strength. Of course, his sister isn't impressed in the slightest. She feels that he went out of his way to use extravagant techniques and wasted his energy, not even taking into account that another monster could be lurking close. After defeating the monster, Lukeo acquires 10,000 experience points, and since his level up mission is complete as well, he's given the chance to receive his rewards. He's pleased with the 10,000 experience points, and gladly accepts the mission rewards too. The sect leader is surprised when he sees that the reward is the Attribute Awakening coupon, because it means that he either has extraordinary talent, or has been favored by the gods. The summary of this is that he can now control different elements by changing his spiritual attribute using this coupon, which will also strengthen his affinity with his chosen element. For instance, if lightning is chosen, it will become thunder. If gale is chosen, it will turn into a strong wind. Lukeo recalls how his sister has the wind attribute in her control, so he's eager to find what his own attribute is going to be. Now that he has attained the grass he was after, our hero wants to step out of the flame forest and go somewhere safer so he can properly meditate and break through to a new realm of power. He takes only one of the grass herbs and assures his team that it's enough because he feels that they should leave the rest for anyone who might need them later. As they leave the forest on their magic carpet, Ludong assures her brother that she can find a safe place. And when her young disciple sees this, she concludes that her master is very particular about safety. Meanwhile, back in the forest, the swordsman notices that the Mo sect left in a hurry without harvesting all the marrow grass, and wonders if Lukeo is planning to break through right away. The big tits, Master Ning, informs him that his theory is half correct, claiming that Lukeo wouldn't even have anywhere to store the rest of the marrow grass if he took it home. Suddenly, she pulls out a spiritual box that can store such items, and places the marrow grass inside it. Elsewhere, we see our main party next to a waterfall, where the leader is rambling about how things would go in their favor when they have someone looking out for them from above. His sister suddenly informs him that they've scanned the 5-mile radius to confirm that the area is safe, but he teases her by commenting that she's being too serious. He reminds her that he's just going to have his breakthrough, and not survive a heavenly tribulation. But Ludong reminds him that he was the one who taught her the importance of safety. Hearing this, the sect leader sits down and quickly changes the topic so he can achieve his breakthrough. Lukeo comments that he feels like something is about to leap out of his body, so his sister and her disciple get excited, wondering if he's finally going to reach a new realm. Sayo-Q asks him if he's not going to share some of the marrow cleansing grass with her, but our boy just tosses it into his mouth before telling her that after eating it, he's going to be in a lot of pain. Of course, the sect leader starts groaning in pain, so the little girl begins to panic and begs her master to help him. However, Ludong doesn't seem to believe his little display. Meanwhile, the swordsman and Ning are watching everything from afar, and the former grips his sword tightly in anger when he sees that Lukeo is about to get stronger. Ning reminds Yu, her disciple, of how he and Ludong awakened their attributes when they broke through their ranks. And the boy admits that it was indeed the case. So, she asks him if he thinks the Mosek master can awaken his attribute as well, to which he panickingly replies that it's impossible. His master thinks that his reaction is a bit extreme, but the boy feels this way because there has never been anyone who successfully awakened to his attribute after the age of 16. This has been the case since ancient times, and even talented geniuses couldn't do it after turning into adults, which means that Lukeo will be no different either. Ning commends him for doing his homework, and admits that it's definitely too late for the Mosek master. Had he broken through his rank when he was younger, he might have had a shot at becoming someone remarkable. However, they're all suddenly shocked when Lukeo literally awakens his attribute right in front of them. A bright beam of light shoots out from the hero's body straight up into the sky, and people all over the world instantly realize that someone is awakening his attribute. It turns out that the cultivators of this world enjoy watching spectacles like this, but there's a mysterious guardian in the Mosect who doesn't appreciate this sudden curiosity of outsiders. All of a sudden, the master spreads her power across the land around our hero, letting everyone know that a master cultivator is protecting him from the shadows. Afraid of the consequences, they all decide that it's better not to watch such an event, because they know that someone who's able to emit such energy could only be a monster. Meanwhile, in the process of awakening his attribute, a huge surge of energy sends our hero into a heavenly plane. As he floats inside the never-ending space, he's overwhelmed by the bubbles all around him, which contain the energies of the heavens and the earths.